Hello everyone. So the second topic is I will talk about microservices versus monoliths. I'm kind of inspired, maybe inspired is a bad word, but I follow DHH recent runs, and he's often arguing against microservices. And as with single page applications, I was a big advocate at some point. Now I'm more like, I think, maybe not skeptical, but more realistic about it. I'm not against, it's just I see the complexity. With microservices, it's also very hard to be like for or against. I see reasons why microservices might be a good idea in some situations, but probably more often than not, it's better to go with this monolith approach, or as I like the term, modulith. So sometimes we go for microservices because we want to discipline the programmers, we want to discipline ourselves that we're going to have those clear boundaries. This is the part of our application which is the one module is deployed somewhere else on another module, and I don't think this is a good idea for disciplining ourselves. Like, okay, this can work, it's very hard discipline, but I am not sure I like it because it brings complexity again. And it's similar with the single page application complexity, where we have to serialize to JSON, deserialize it, and even just a serialization is still not a solved problem yet. I know there is GraphQL, there's other stuff, but there is still complexity. And the same problem is with microservices. So suddenly your method calls are basically network calls, and this must be slow. You now have to deal with the distributed transactions, so this is difficult. I've been in a project where there were microservices designed from the beginning not in the right way, so the boundaries were wrong, and this was a nightmare. So we've had to merge those microservices at some point to one monolith, but it was a monolith which was once it was in one place, it was easier to modularize. And I like this idea of thinking that optionally I can deploy any of my module as a microservice, but as long as I don't need to, I'm not going to do it. I might need to do it, for example, for performance reasons. So maybe one of my modules requires a stronger machine than the other, and this might be a good approach. But even though our application is dealing with large amounts of data, the microservices, they don't seem to be the solution for this problem. There are some frameworks for microservices which allow you to work with those modules together locally, for example, and then you just deploy them separately. So I think this is the nice distinction. I would be okay with working with microservices if I have the option of thinking about them as two versions of my application. So again, the product lines idea. So one version of my application is where it's all in memory in one code, in one memory. And then I have another configuration where it's all separated on microservices. So when it's easily possible, then I'm comfortable with working with this kind of situation. But when you have to test it locally by, for example, starting all those processes, even if you have the orchestration needed, you have the whatever is the current hype, Kubernetes or something, even if this is there, if it's just possible to work, you need to deploy those separately. I think it's a big limitation overall and a big complexity. So probably don't have much to add. I think the modulith approach is my current way of thinking. And obviously this requires more than just saying like let's go for modules, because the real art, the real skill is how to create modules. My answer to that is was probably presented in previous videos on YouTube. That we are creating bounded context at the domain level, that we are separating the application layer from the domain layer, and we are creating read models, so we are separating the reads from commands, so queries from commands, and this allows for a nice modularization of most of the stuff. And as I said, I'm now experimenting with aspect-oriented programming for this stuff, which is harder to modularize because it's a cross-cutting concern. So this is my current area of experiments and research. I think which gets me nicely to wrap up this part of the microservices. Even if you watch this video afterwards, after it was live, feel free to add comments or questions if you want to hear my opinion about more detailed questions. And thanks for watching, and see you in the next video, hopefully. Goodbye, have a nice weekend.